Well, good afternoon. This is our daily briefing for Friday, the 24th of April, 2020. With me today is Commissioner Juanita Vero and a couple of special guests. We have Shannon Terrio, who is our Environmental Health Director at the Missoula City County Health Department, and our intrepid and brilliant Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Missoula, Donna Gockler. And we wanted to talk with these two experts a little bit today about what's happening in parks, the outdoors, in the age of COVID, how we can help each other, how we can stay safe, and how we can continue to pound the potatoes out of this virus. Commissioner, you have questions, do you?
Yes, I do. I'd like to learn a little bit more about the ambassador program and what you guys hope it accomplishes.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll start. The goal is to have people be able to get the needed sunshine and exercise that we all so desperately need, but at the same time prevent community spread of the virus, COVID-19. And so this was really a brainchild, I would say, of the Parks Department and the Health Department. We were both thinking about this separately and came together, as we often do, work well with the Parks Department, to think about how we can get the message out there in an educational way to help people realize that the choices that they're making in the parks when they're out exercising really could have a community impact. And I think that some people might think like I'm healthy, I'm young, or I'm not that old, and or I'm a very healthy older adult, and so I'm not worried about getting COVID. But it's certainly COVID can, any age person can get it, but it also even if you don't fall ill from it, you could unsuspectedly give it to somebody by having, if you're asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, and it could have dire consequences for other people in our community. So we wanted to let people know the importance of social distancing in the parks and of not gathering in groups in the parks. And then Parks Department also said, hey, we also have to think about our parks facilities and how we are treating them. Right, Donna?
That's right. What we're finding is an immense increase in use throughout the park system, open space, conservation lands, trails, you name it. Folks are pouring out into their parks. And we're also finding at times the gathering is too great. As Missoulians, we're avid outdoors people, so of course we're invincible, but not so in this case. And our goal here is to not only keep our citizens safe and healthy, but let's not destroy the properties at the same time. Spring is a vital time on our conservation open space lands with the blooming of many species that are endangered or protected, and ground nesting birds. And so we're trying to find that balance of, yes, humans come first, but let's not destroy what we love.
That's great, thanks. So if I run into an ambassador, what does that ambassador want me to go away with?
Do you want
First and foremost, we are approaching this very much from an educational. We believe that if people truly understand the impacts of their actions and behaviors, that understanding and knowledge will influence how they behave and how others that they interact with behave. And so what we're asking people to do is, in some cases, we'll have one-way trails. Or when you meet somebody, please step off the trail. We're seeing that a lot of people are challenged with what 6 feet is approximately, or I've had residents tell me, well, I figured all the rest of the rules don't exist once we're in COVID, but in fact they do. We still want to be respectful to each other and the environment. And we just hope that people will be just a little bit more patient, a little bit more thoughtful, recognize that we're all in this together. Doesn't matter if you're old or young, any one of us could be asymptomatic carriers.
I agree with everything you just said.
So who are the ambassadors? Do they wear particular uniforms, limousines, any of that?
Go ahead, Shannon.
Well, we have a combination of people that are doing this. Probably most of the people are actually Parks Department staff. I think it's both recreational staff and maintenance staff. Is that right, Donna? And then our animal control officers are already in the parks. They do park patrols to talk to people about the importance of keeping their animals on leash and to licensing their dogs. And so they are also joining in the effort while they're out in the parks and other public spaces beyond the parks properties.
Most of the folks are on foot from Parks and Recreation, wearing Parks and Recreation staff uniforms. We do have some on bikes, and we're pretty much all over the entire system. And at the same time, ambassadors are out there visiting with folks. We're also taking note of any repairs or work that needs to be done in the field.
And the other thing I could say that we're doing is that, a lot of people are calling the health department, environmental health department, to complain about when they see something going on that they don't think is safe. And so we make sure that we share any of those complaints that have to do with parks or open space with the Parks Department and, of course, with animal control, so that they might not be out there when the gathering or the person not social distancing is out there, but we know that that could be a particular spot. We tend to see the same things happening in the same places over and over. So that way we can get out to that area and let people know what their community is concerned about, not just what we're concerned about.
So can you give us a little bit of a history lesson about how this program came about, and talk about the relationship between the health department and city parks?
Well, actually, I think we've had a very, very long relationship with city parks.
Oh no. We have a frozen one.
He freezes over at the health department. The history is very long, and of course we've been working for years and years with animal control because many people walk their dogs in parks, trails, and on open spaces. But it goes much deeper than that. Health is a big, broad issue, from individual to community to environment, and all those activities, all those benefits and values occur in our public places.
So Shannon, because the county didn't pay its internet bill, you froze up for a moment.
Yeah.
You want to repeat?
I was just talking, and suddenly I realized I'm just talking to myself, which is very common. Yes. Well, I don't know what Donna just said, but I do think that the Parks and Health Department have had a long relationship. We understand that there are very close connections to health and outdoor activity, and appreciate how Donna comes and her department come at it from very much a public health standpoint. And so we want to continue that relationship. In this particular instance, we just realized that we were getting complaints, and the best way to address this particular kind of complaint was through education. And we knew Donna would be, and her group would be thinking about this, and they were. So they actually had already gone out to some places. We're kind of doing a trial of this kind of talking to people, and we realized that we had some capacity with our animal control officers to help out. So I think that's how this particular version came about, but it's something, there's a lot of times where we are working with Donna and trying to figure out better ways to do things.
Well, and you guys are sorting through all sorts of public health and health equity issues and lots of stuff that's ongoing and really significant, and certainly doesn't get the attention that some of this does during COVID-19. So as a function of the virus, how has use in parks changed, parks and open space?
It's changed and increased significantly. Of course, the playgrounds remain closed, but they're, I'm looking out my window now, and the park has many people, all very nicely socially distanced.
Nice.
But we've at least an uptick of somewhere between 30 and 50%, and that was in late March. So I'm going to guess that we may be seeing as many as 100% increase in use of parks, trails, and open spaces. And when you think about it, on any given week during the spring, there's about 20,000 people engaged in outdoor team sports. And that doesn't include all the people that would be going to the gym or participating in some other place, some other way. And so we're seeing brand new folks on those open spaces. We're seeing whole families taking walk in the morning as part of their school day, if you will. And it's a great opportunity to educate more people about the value and benefits of those open spaces. And overall, I think folks are delighted. There's no doubt there's complaints and there's anxiety, but without those open spaces, I think Western Montanans would feel pretty darn cramped up, and the mental and physical benefits are immeasurable.
And can you speak a little more specifically to those, like health and mental benefits? What are people why is it important that we get outside, and why do we have to still, really kind of beat this dead horse of physical distancing? Like, tell us why this is important and what we're going to get out of it.
Active recreation is critical to our overall physical well-being, cardiovascular, respiratory, muscular. And they help us develop. For kids, it's what makes them strong, helps them grow up. For adults, it's as much a mental health release as anything. And with being out of doors, there's a certain sense of renewal that each one of us, maybe not even knowingly, derives from that experience. So imagine yourself walking down a trail and having a bald eagle fly overhead, or getting the opportunity even to see some songbirds or some children enjoying each other. What that does for our hearts and our souls, as well as our bodies, is it's truly difficult to measure those benefits. We do have all sorts of research that directly has measured the immense benefit. We know that people who spend time outdoors, especially as preschoolers, are much less likely to end up needing medications like Ritalin to manage ADHD. We also know that there's a potential that they would even develop a higher IQ. We know that adults heal faster, live longer if they have time outside. And that's all research proven. As Montanans, we know it makes us better and stronger.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, as for the physical distancing part, why that's important, that really is one of the best ways that we can prevent the spread of COVID-19 in our community. Doing things like wearing face coverings when you're in areas where you can't maintain that physical distancing, although that doesn't work well if you are running or doing physical activity, because that we don't want you to not be able to breathe. Breathing is super important. But that's and also not gathering in groups right now. So not having the opportunity to have people who don't realize that they may be able to pass on the virus to somebody else is important. And then, of course, the other thing that we really want people to know is that if you are sick, especially if you're sick with the symptoms of COVID, which include a temperature and shortness of breath or cough, that we do not want you to go out and recreate at that point. We want you to stay home. We want you to get well, and then come back out and enjoy the parks once that has passed.
We even want you to get tested if you have those symptoms. So 258-INFO is super helpful.
That is very true. Thank you, yes, John, thank you. That's why I'm not the PIO here at the health department.
So what can people do to help?
What would help Parks and Recreation, and I think the entire community most, is patience. Don't forget that we're here together. We're all in this together. We'll all get through it better, easier, faster together. I get that we're all running or biking for that time, but really what matters is the whole race, not just the sprint. Mm-hmm. Try to remember that anybody could be a vulnerable population, and don't make assumptions. We have received comments about ageism or related to gender or ability. This is a disease that attacks everybody. There is no separation here. And why not be smart about it? Let's make sure we can continue to use our outdoors. Let's make sure we get through this as fast as we can. And let's make friends, not enemies, in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So then also folks need to know that changes related to COVID-19 and parks and how we recreate may change soon. And we'll be back to you guys with updates as soon as we get them. And it's Friday, and I was told earlier today that it's push through Friday for self-care Saturday. So hope you all have healthy, safe weekends.
I like that a lot, Commissioner. One other thing to note about parks, and this is a little bit of a peeve for me. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no such thing as the poop fairy. It is one thing to put your poop in a bag, use those mutt mitts when your dogs do what they do best, but don't leave them on the ground, because it turns out somebody has to pick them up. And if you do that, and if all of us do that, life's a lot easier in our world. So if those green bags along the trail, Hansel and Gretel don't need to find their way home via, that. So pick up the poo, pack it in, pack it out, or something like that. Shannon and Donna, as always, thank you very much. Thanks for all the good work you're doing. Commissioner, thank you for all the good work you're doing, and all of you out there, thanks. Have a great weekend. Stay safe.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.